Send in your thoughts, and is that, where's Dale? Is that?
Working on the form right now. You tell them when to post it.
Right now. Hey, I just heard on the presentation that you can do this from your laptop, so.
Forms may take a little while.
All right.
How about by noon tomorrow, or by the end of the day tomorrow?
Other feedback, thoughts on going out with what the administration's calling the orange and green plans? Mr. Sykes.
Would you pull up that screen that shows the utilizations comparison? I don't recall seeing that before, but that's a pretty even measurement right there.
Well, that's also what I call the squeaky plan. I mean, it is break even, and it is showing the board is not closing schools. It does not need to close to try to, even though I would love for it to be 90%, because I think the budget issues are that severe, but it shows me that the board is doing, what it has, that says, I don't want to close any schools, but we've got this big budget problem, and this will get us to break even.
Is it fair to say, I mean, you say you'd like to go to 90%? Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Sykes, we do need to probably be recognized to make sure we're not all talking over each other.
It does allow for some, my concern has been, as we talk about increasing utilization, it does allow for some growth opportunities on campuses.
Right.
And
And if we are successful in getting a bond issue out there by closing, by rebuilding Kendrick, we would be closing a campus. By putting a wing on Provident Heights, we'd be closing a campus. If we rebuild middle school, we would close a campus. So that would, I think, would probably get us up to the 90%.
this is such an even comparison.
It surprised me, to be honest with you. I thought the numbers were wrong at first because they were so close. I thought there'd be an 88 and an 84 or something.
All right. Mr. Dupuy, do you have something?
Well, to move that number up from there, you'd have to be looking at closing a middle school, I presume.
And I think the board's point was well taken, that we are struggling at the middle level, and in the interest of, we can do other budget cuts. Because this will not solve our budget problem. This will greatly help our budget problem.
I guess I have two observations, Dr. Kane, and I don't know that I'm necessarily recommending a change to either plan. I do have one concern that although it's balanced between the two plans, to get to that 85% number, we're at 75% at the high school and then close to 95% at the elementary level. And I think, when we're looking at a state mandated 22 to 1, 23, wherever we are now with the waivers, that does not give us a lot of wiggle room if you've got, a section where you've got a number of students that's not divisible by the number of 22 or 23, because that necessarily is going to take that class down well below 100%
Right.
for that grade level. And I think, although I know 85% has been the goal all along, we're getting real close to, at the elementary level,
Yes.
to really having some tightly compacted schools.
Yes.
That, because of the number of grades, looks like there could be more fluctuation there. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, but it does cause me some concern. And it gets back to the discussions we've had at workshops, that when you look at South Waco, where we've had the most growth over the last few years, North Waco, if they rebuild, a multi-use development at what's been Parkside, those are two areas that are maybe going to have even further growth. And we're packed in pretty tight at the elementary level. And I guess what I would say is obviously we need the administration to continue to monitor that.
Yes, sir.
I know we're going to have some facilities that are not going to be raised, but mothballed or used for other
Right.
purposes, so we can bring them back online.
I feel like these two are the best of a worst, I hate to say that, the best of,
I think that's where we are. I mean, it's a
Worse.
bad situation, and we're trying to make the best that we can out of it. Here's my other observation or thought. We originally looked at taking Carver and making it a neighborhood school because we were trying to get down to 4 middle schools.
Yes, sir.
That was the original plan. And I think we found out that unless we made University Middle as large as the old University High, there just wasn't capacity to do that. And so we needed, I think we had 3,100 middle school students and a capacity of 2,900. So we had to put the fifth one back online.
Right.
But once we've done that, it does create some capacity there. And something to think about is going back to 4 defined attendance zone schools and a magnet middle school. And it doesn't have to be at Carver. I don't care where we house it. But I guess here's my thought process. At the elementary level, even if you're not advanced academic, there are other options for your child. You can go to Hillcrest as a professional development school. You've got the Montessori school as a magnet. So there are other opportunities that are a good fit for you. Under your proposal at the high school level, even if you're not advanced academic, there are other opportunities through the
Early
A.J. Moore
high school,
academies.
A.J. Moore.
Where you can go to a magnet program and get your needs met.
Lots of
At-
options.
At the middle school, the way we've got it configured currently, the only option, other than a traditional neighborhood or attendance zone school, is the Advanced Academic Academy.
Well,
For those
actually,
students who,
I'd like to offer some, I have been to meetings also, as you have, and I have, actually, Mr. Dupuy and I were at a meeting, and the group made some very valid points about Carver, that understanding transportation's an issue, that Carver is really a point of pride in the area that it's in. And just because you can still be a magnet school and not necessarily provide transportation. Now, from talking to Ms. Correa, we as a district never really put the money and the programming. I think most of what's done, she's taken out of her budget or parents have done. But that could be an opportunity for us to do exactly what you're saying. Here's two options that we have that Carver still would have a, kind of like a school within a school perhaps, component. Now, you understand, I haven't worked out the
I know we're just
details.
thinking out loud, but,
Yeah,
and
here's
again,
an
and I'm
alternative.
okay if the Carver physical plant has a defined attendance zone because
And-
we want that, and you may be looking at Brazos, which is in the
Mm-hmm.
center right there, or Cesar Chavez as being more of the magnet to pull kids from all over the community.
That's true too,
And
yes.
so, but anyway, I would encourage the administration to look at that, because I think the way we're currently configured, other than the advanced academic opportunity, the other middle school, we're moving away from the technology components and some of the other things that we have at elementary and high school, and we're missing at the middle school.
But the nice thing about this 85% plan is we have the wiggle room now to be able to say, what do you need to make that magnet better? And I really like the idea of having 2 choices at the middle level as well, because I think your point's well taken about the elementary and the high school.
They still will have the Montessori program at Lake Waco.
Ah, good point.
There is, Montessori school will
Yes.
go through 8th grade, so there will be that option.
So that would be 3 options at the middle level, 3
You know,
options.
and I guess y'all can decide whether we're going with too many, because I'd forgotten about the Montessori now going through 8th. That's one of the reasons for going like that. But I do think that technology component at the middle school level is something we need to continue to look at, and I would just share that, because it looks like now we've got capacity to do that. Originally, we really had to put everybody with a defined attendance zone, because we were trying to get down to 4 schools. So,
But I am going to pursue the Carver. I think we've already got some money there. They've got a reputation. They're a very high-performing school. Let's see if we can't help a little bit. Let it, even for the kids assigned there. And then again, like the magnet with the Montessori, if you would like to take your child there and we don't provide the transportation, I think that would
but it's an option for those parents that are looking for something.
yes,
All right,
yes.
that's great. Other question, Mr.
I
Pettis?
have one quick question. I don't think we've thought about this, but I had a parent come to my house and we talked, and he asked me, what about, if Waco High and University continue to be unacceptable? Okay, TA comes around and says, hey, you got to close these schools or do something. Where are we gonna put these students?
Well, even in that scenario, a TA can't make a district build a high school, or a middle school or elementary, whatever level that is. Typically, it would be in a high, because most schools are high, most districts are one high school districts. And I've looked at that. I think when we have our visit from TEA, one, they look at why are you unacceptable? If it's the data quality, and we just spent the kind of time and effort on the PEMS data, and we're showing them, here's what we're doing differently. This district has changed superintendents. We have looked at all kinds of different programming, and we have actually a monitor here. I don't think they're called monitors. What are the people from TEA called? Internal, somebody's. Campus intervention people But they also report back on us, you know, are they just sitting around and not doing anything, or are they really making efforts? So it would be, they would probably open it up to high schools and neighboring high schools and districts if they really wanted to put some teeth in it and said, we're tired of this, instead of not looking at effort, and they wouldn't say, you've got to build another high school.
I was just curious, because.
Well, it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question.
I simply told him, I don't know.
But that's a good question. It's kind of one of those.
Maybe he's watching today and he.
Other questions, comments regarding orange and green?
Mr. President.
Ms. Tico?
First of all, I want to commend the administration for the time that you have taken into presenting the green and the orange, especially since we just talked about options A through E, C revised a little over a week ago. So I really appreciate the time and effort y'all are putting into making sure that all of our questions are answered, running the numbers over and over and over, rerunning maps. And I really think you've done a good job to try to communicate where we are. And I want the community to understand we've been working on this since September. We first got the demographers report at our September meeting, and we've been talking about it ever since. So this takes a lot of time and effort, and we have all been working hard, and I know that y'all have as well.
Well, again, and it's the money issue. You know, this summer when we were talking about, you know, the difficulty with the budget, and then Mr. Davis got a budget late, not because we got our numbers late, and we realized it was going to be a $3.4 million deficit next year. Really, the board doesn't have an option. I mean, you really do have an option, but I feel like if we don't put as much money as we can other places in facilities, and then we have to start cutting the budget, I think it's going to be much, much more painful. My greatest fear is that teachers that we make this district and are our stars are going to be stolen away from us.
So with that, I would say that I am very comfortable with both the orange and green options to take out to our 5 community town hall meetings in January.
Very good. Other thoughts? Mr. Pettis?
Yes, okay, both plans. Now, whichever one we do, is that gonna cover the complete 3.4 million?
No, sir. No,
What is
sir.
that gonna cover? How much of that is that gonna cover?
Okay, I'm going to assume you're going to do green or orange, and that gets us to 85%. Okay? The first year, you don't save all the money you save in every year after that, because, for example, at Lake Waco Montessori and Alta, you know, there's going to be a certain amount of cost, a fixed cost. It's a one-year cost to change that. So the first year, would you say half? We just say our cost avoidance half.
I'd say we'd probably save about 2/3 of it
Okay, 2/3.
first year.
So that gets us to 2/3. Now, on top of that, we'll bring a budget that is balanced. That will be my recommendation. I will do exactly what Mr. Syke.
You said you won't bring a budget that's balanced, I think I heard you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I started to use the word deficit, and then I changed it to balance. And we're going to do exactly as the board requested and say, this is what we're suggesting we cut, and this is what we considered and didn't cut. I will be recommending a 3% raise for the entire staff of the district, and I will be considering it, and actually 1.5% for 2 years, because they did not receive a raise last year. I think it's very important. We're going to ask them to do more with less, and I feel like, again, that all of our employees should have that. That's $2 million right there. I will be bringing a $500,000 to $600,000 incentive plan. I would like to see the district move towards incentives for teachers, for the campuses and the teachers who really perform. We want to give everybody the skills that they need to do that, but some people put out that extra effort, and I would like to start recognizing that. Some of you have spoke to me about